Welcome to Norse and today's podcast. I'm Roger Smith, a veteran of 22 years service in the British Army, and I'm joined today by John Stephenson and Mandy Stephenson from the Forces Transition Group. They've been doing a lot of work to support service leavers and the blue light community. So I'd like to welcome both John and Mandy today for this, and we're going to talk about the work they've been doing. So firstly, I'd like to introduce yourselves.
So I'm Mandy. I am the Group Commercial and HR Director for the FTG, and I have now been with the business for just over 2 years.
And I'm John, the Managing Director of the Forces Transition Group.
Thank you for being here today. It's a great opportunity for the Forces Transition Group to talk about the work they've been doing and the support to service leavers. It's really important that when service leavers transition and leave the force, they know what they're doing and where they're actually going to. So, John, if I can just ask you, please, just give me a sort of a rundown of what the FTG is and what its main purpose is, please.
Yeah, so the FTG is a professional platform, really, for those leaving the military, for veterans, siblings, spouses, and blue light. And we try to take them through 3 different stages. The first one is to own who they are. So getting them to do it themselves, but be confident, self-belief in everything they need to do to create their future. And the second part of it is to then bring business in. So business leaders can teach them what business actually is, which then creates the decision-making at the end of that process. So once they understand who they are and where they want to go, it's much easier to then understand what job you want to do.
So, John, picking up on that point, for the service leaver or any person leaving a uniformed service, it can be very daunting at times. And that transition, whether you've done 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, it's the same old problems we seem to hear about, that ability to transition effectively into a new role, a new career and find that. So your story was quite an interesting one, which I read about in your book. Could you just talk to me a little bit about your story of how you transitioned and why you set up the FTG?
Yeah, so I had what you may call a great career, and I reached the very top in the military. But once I decided to leave, I kind of buried my head. I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. Thus, the problem kind of manifested in itself, and it got worse and worse. And the worse it got, the harder it became for me personally. And then I started to kind of self-isolate. I started to lie to myself, and I didn't quite understand what was happening within my transition, and thus then went into several roles that I didn't want. I became a little bit of a toxic veteran, which is really bad for individuals and their families, plus the military. If you want to look at where that goes after that. After 22 years in the military and never really having a problem, then all of a sudden I'm in my last 12 months and I've now got a problem. I couldn't really understand why that was happening. And of course, I'd heard many, many similar stories, and we still see exactly the same stories now. And I've left the military 7 years ago and nothing's changed. So we've put the Forces Transition Group in place to disrupt that, to try and create something for the future that actually solves transition.
And I think, as you rightly say, as the Forces Transition Group supporting service leavers and the blue light community to find a place where they can transition successfully with the support that's needed from that very early part of the journey, for them as well to understand what they're looking for in the job they need to go to. So with that, the work that you do and the events you put on, I'd like now to sort of turn to Mandy, really, and just talk to me sort of briefly about some of the events that you've been doing and the work you've been doing to support those service leavers.
Yeah, so the FTG events are my baby, so to speak. So they're fantastic because they get people sat in front of a business, and I suppose give them the opportunity to gain their confidence of having a conversation with a business. We call them interviews. They're not interviews. They're a 10-minute get to know the business gets to know the candidate. I think within that 10 minutes, both either way can determine whether they think they fit for each other. We do the briefings at the beginning of the day, which is the candidate's favourite part of the day because they get the opportunity to hear what each business is doing. And then we do the interviews throughout the day. And it's so important because the buzz in the room on the day when it happens is just like the best feeling in the world. And so many people have walked away from them with actually having opportunities given to them on the day.
And obviously been invited out to Cheltenham to see what you actually do from the pre-event and the networking event. It's really clear and evident there's a real drive, passion and enthusiasm to support our service leavers and the blue light community in finding those opportunities and developing those skills they need to hone them. And it's very difficult, as we often hear, from how do I convert my previous sort of work and my roles into something that the civilian employer will actually understand. John, if you can just sort of talk about how you've helped that piece of work to understand the current job to potential future roles they're going to pick up on.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to what Mandy was saying there, really what we're looking at is a memorable moment, a deliberate act. So getting them to sit down for those 10 minutes. That's when people can understand what their skill sets are. Because somebody who's leaving the military will effectively believe they've got certain types of skills and will have all of those skills. But how that relates to business can only be taught to them by business. So by sitting them down with that business and going through their skill sets, business will start to teach them what their skills are and how that relates to each different organization. And it's at that point that they can start to have that belief and that confidence in themselves to say, hey, I have got the right skills and these skills I can bring into your business and here's some proof of where I've used these skills. And at that point, you get a much clearer pathway and better process between the individual and the business.
And the events that you put together, having seen these firsthand now, you see just the scale and complexity of the work that sits in the background to actually deliver this to those people who turn up on the day, and quite often they'll just see an event being organised, but the depth of work that goes behind it. So as an example, Mandy, we're looking to partner with Norse Group, with the Forces Transition Group in January. The preparation work that we've done already is by no means small, just to get to this point here today to talk about it, where hopefully we can overly sort of show you what the Forces Transition Group can do and what it can offer you in the community of East Anglia, hosted at the Norfolk Showground. So Mandy, from the event, if you can just give us sort of a summary of what an event actually is to set up and deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. So they are very, very time consuming. There is so much that goes behind it. It has to be to get the right venue for the capacity of people that we have that attend each of the events. So that's not easy to do because you think you found an amazing location and then they'll be like, we can't fit this many people in. So it takes a little while to find your locations. Once you found them, it's great because we tend to then go back to them, which gives it more ease because they get to know us and understand what it is that we need for the events. But we do the pre-interviews for the candidates as well. That is definitely, we're trying to keep it as personable as possible at all times. So it doesn't matter the scale of the event, it's trying to keep it personable. And we do the pre-interviews, which is where the candidates book 10 interviews each, if they wish to sit down and have those conversations. And I don't think people realise all of the work that goes behind for that, because it is something that takes up probably a good 3 to 4 weeks of just that part to make sure that everyone's booked in. And again, keeping it personable, they all get a personal email back to say, these are your timings. It's everything down to the detail. Is there a cafe on site? What's happening with the parking? And there's so much context to, I think, like you say, a lot of people just go, oh, you're just putting on an event. It's not like that at all. There is so much that goes behind it. And again, I'll go back to that personable. That's the most important thing for me, is how personable it is for everyone that's in the room on the day.
And just seeing the event at Cheltenham, I was quite in awe of what was actually done, really. And it really sort of brings it home, just the work and the commitment that you are putting into this. Now, could you just give us an idea of some of the organisations that are turning up to your events and there are stands and doing work? And I believe also as well, you're putting on some courses and supporting veterans and courses that are free to them once they've sort of joined the programme.
Well, we'll start with the businesses. We have businesses small, medium and large. Some will be family-owned businesses, some will be major businesses. And again, it's about the control of the individual. The individual needs to understand where they want to be. If you go into a huge global company, then you're likely not to be seen that well. If you go into a small, company with maybe 10 or 20 people, then you're more likely to stand out. Where do you actually really fit? So by giving people a choice, that's really important. And we have major companies like yourself, in Norse Group, but we have your BAEs and your Sercos and your British Airways, so huge companies. But we also have smaller companies like a Symposium IT, who maybe only want 2 or 3 candidates a year. So understanding that those different businesses are there is really important for the individuals. Course-wise, we have over 250 free courses. Now, the reason we put courses into it is because we need to align our education and qualification to what business need is. The problem is, in the military, many people will do courses because their friends have done them. The mates have done them. So it becomes a bit of a herd mentality. What we would prefer to do is teach you how to be a professional, put you in a room with great businesses, and then you can align yourself with the correct courses that will relate to business. So amazing course for you, and you get the knowledge and the qualification, but an amazing course for the business as well, because they get somebody who's not only experienced, but somebody who also has the qualification, the cherry on the top, if you like, to go with it.
And one of the important things that I think I've learned from my own experience of leaving in 2008 to where I am now is that for every service leaver, it's really understanding that pathway you are going to take. You prepare yourself for leaving the services, but actually prepare yourself for an unknown. But what you are leaving with, you've got a lot of fundamental skills, and you've really picked up a lot of experience along the way, and it's how you translate those skills into a new role. So, John, back to yourself. How would you sell a service leaver and say, what are their qualities that really make them employable?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge question. Business that we have generally have a lot of veterans in them. And that could be blue light, it could be spouses, or it could be people who've actually left the military, like yourself, over many years. So the businesses already understand the skill set. But picking out skills is very, very difficult because there's thousands of them. But leadership, management are things that we do a lot in the military from very, very junior times. So if you're a lance corporal or a corporal in the army, for example, you're already leading people and you're already managing them, especially when they start to go on operations and things like that. But we also want to look at the softer side of things, because in the military, because it's a macho environment, no matter whether you're a male or a female, you lose many of your soft skills, and one of them being emotion. So what we try to do is turn that around to start to say to the individuals, start using your emotion, because when your emotion comes out, then that helps the real world, the civilian workplace, because the civilian workplace is way more emotional than the military is. So explaining skills, very, very difficult because there's so many of them. But we would always kind of want to work with businesses who have a very keen hirer who may not have served, but also to bring along a very keen veteran as well, and have that kind of nice communication between the two, which allows that kind of process to work well. Again, candidate to business.
And many companies are part of the employer recognition scheme where they've signed up to that. And so if a veteran meets the criteria for a job application, they are given the guaranteed interview schemes that sit with that. So there's an awful lot there to support them. It's not giving them necessarily an advantage, but what it's doing is, it's raising the profile of people who've got the skill sets and the qualities that are needed that, really demonstrate, a commitment once you've left the services. So Mandy, with the events that you're putting on, if you could just give us a sort of a brief rundown of what you're looking for in January with the next event at the Norfolk Showground and the dates that we are looking to host that and what you hope to achieve from that.
Yeah, so the one in January, we are definitely on the verge of this being our biggest one that we've ever done, which is very exciting. And like I say, even scaling it up, it still needs to have that personable feel in the room. So we're having our B2B, which we do at every event now, the night before, which is on the 24th. And then that's where we get all our businesses together so they can have their own little networking. And that really gives us such an amazing feel in the room the next day, because a majority of the businesses already know each other when they turn up. So it gives that, as the candidates will say, that warm feeling when they're in there, which is an amazing thing, I think, to have at our events. And then on the 25th is the big event. Like I say, this is going to be our biggest one. So it's exciting to see just how well we managed to pull this one off. And we're hoping to have at least 200 businesses at this one. So definitely our biggest one ever. That would be a mix of our current partners and some new ones with obviously the work that we're doing with yourselves at Norse Group. So yeah, lots to come. And again, for me, it's just that feeling when the candidates walk out the room that they've actually had someone give them the opportunity to sit down and listen to who they are as a talent. Because what I always say to them, they'll ask me the questions of what do I need to wear? What do I need to bring with me? I always say to them, just bring yourself, because you're the talent, and that's what businesses are interested in.
And there's a great opportunity for businesses within East Anglia, and there's no reason to say we can't stop at East Anglia to get you involved with this. And there will be an opportunity for you to sign up for the event and engage further with the Forces Transition Group. Within the podcast, there will be a link on the on the socials to say where you can go to do that. But these events really sort of want to showcase what East Anglia is all got about. We're a growing environment. The community's growing. There's great business opportunity here. There's service members in the community with the bases that are located within Norfolk, and Suffolk, and it's really important that we don't just suddenly sort of stop thinking about what is on our doorstep. It's really embracing everything out that we've actually got to allow people that opportunity for that, and for the employers as well to look at the talent they've got on their doorstep potentially that wants to come and work for them, and it's how we develop that talent. So with that in mind, Mandy, what would be your primary aim of the event that you're putting together? What would you really, if I was to say to you, give me 3 real key achievements, what would they be?
Definitely that feel of personable in the room, because that makes a huge difference to the candidates. My biggest achievement is always, I would love to hear the success stories that come from the day of that someone's actually got themselves their next career path. That is the most important thing, because that is the whole purpose of the day. And 3, I think just to continue to build that community between our partners, because that is absolutely huge, because without our partners, none of this is possible for us to do. And they are really, really key to what we can achieve all together as a community for our candidates.
Yeah. And just from myself, when I was speaking to you both, when you get a feel for something that feels right, having met you a few months ago and having those conversations, when you get that it feels right factor, it's really great. And at Norse, we've signed up with Forces Transition Group, or as we abbreviate to FTG, it's a lot easier to say. Yeah. So working with FTG, we are going to be signing that piece with them and working with them and support the event in January, because you also remember that Norfolk's got some great numbers of retired generals that have retired to Norfolk in this area, and of course we're hopefully trying to sort of tap into some of that to get those individuals to attend the event. And I think that we can really showcase what East Anglia and Norfolk's all about with this event. So I would just ask for those that watch this to consider contacting FTG, having a word with them directly, seeing what you can offer and how you can work with them. And really for you, John, just to sort of summarise, what does it really mean to you?
Well, before we talk about what it really means to me, I would really like people to get signed up straight away, so they understand what we do. As Mandy alluded to, it is a community, and a community that business can work together, as well as getting great candidates, because over 11,000 service leavers alone are coming through what we do. So getting signed up now means we can get lots of great candidates into your business straight away. You don't have to wait till next January. But it means everything to me, because 2 years after I left the military and being at the top, if you like, and all of a sudden really struggling for 2 years and going through a period in my life where I nearly lost my family and nearly lost my home, I know that there's many, many people just like me. So to continue to grow this and take it to the next level is massively important. So if we can get more people, more great companies, great business leaders involved, then that will be where we see the growth. And we would love to do that in this area within Suffolk, East Anglia, because we believe there's a lot of businesses here who will not only take great people who will continue to work here, but also we believe that they'll probably have roles across the UK as well, which can then be taken into business right across the UK, creating huge opportunity. To me, if we pull this off, I think we have a chance within the next 10 years of solving transition and getting rid of all the problems that we see in society: suicide, homelessness, society issues. We can remove all of that, but we can only remove it, like Mandy said, by having great businesses aligned to us.
Well, John and Mandy, this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity that I'm very excited to be involved with. I'd like to thank the members of the Norse team as well, and the team from FTG that have been working together over the last couple of months to get us here today for this podcast to talk about what you do. And for me, it is now just looking for those next steps that we take forward to deliver what will be hopefully your biggest and best event with the continuation. And also we've also got some supporting partners who've been involved already with us, which will be making those names available, who've been working with us once we do maybe some more podcasts as we move closer to the date. So thank you both very much for travelling down. I hope this has been a great experience for yourselves, and I really look forward to working with you and signing our contract this afternoon with you. Thanks very much for your time today. Cheers now.